Welcome to the WashUVotes Guide to Absentee Voting. Absentee voting is the act of voting early, either by mail or in person, when an individual is unable or unwilling to attend the traditional polling location on Election Day. There are several reasons why you may want or need to vote absentee. For students who vote in their home state, being on campus during the election is a valid reason for voting absentee. It is important to note that voting absentee is not the same as voting using a mail-in ballot. Some states, including Missouri, have different procedures for voting absentee and voting using a mail-in ballot. In general, absentee voting requires an excuse, but please be sure to look at your state's rules to figure out if you are eligible for absentee voting or voting using a mail-in ballot. To find your state's absentee requirement, Google your state name plus absentee voting. Click the link to your state's website, which will contain requirements and restrictions to voting absentee. It is important to note that unlike absentee, mail-in voting does not require an excuse. Note that many states, including Missouri, have expanded the ability to vote absentee to those whose medical conditions make them more susceptible to COVID-19. If you are voting absentee in Missouri due to an illness or physical disability, or due to a COVID-19 exemption during 2020 elections, you do not need a notary signature on your absentee ballot. If you fall under one of the other excuses, you qualify for absentee voting. However, you will still need to get your ballot notarized before voting. The first step to requesting an absentee ballot is being registered to vote. If you have not yet registered to vote or are not sure of your registration status, please review our instructional videos on how to do so before continuing with this video. You can find those videos at washuvotes.wustl.edu. If you do not know whether you are already registered, simply type in tinyurl.com/all-state-voter-lookup, lookup being one word. Select your state and then fill in your information to check your registration status. If you are already registered and your address is correct and does not need to be updated, you are ready to request an absentee ballot. Begin by going to www.vote.org/absentee-ballot. Continue by filling in your name, address where you are registered, date of birth, and your email address and/or phone number. Next, you must answer whether your registration address is the same as where you will be voting. If you are registered somewhere other than where you would like your absentee ballot to be sent to you, select I have a different mailing address. Otherwise, select Same as my registration address. After you are done, fill in the optional questions following if you wish to. Next, you will be asked what county you are registered to vote in. If you do not know what county you are registered in, simply type in tinyurl.com/my-county. Then fill in your information to find out which county you're registered in. If your address is in St. Louis City County, the county section will show up blank. If you are in St. Louis County, it will say St. Louis under the county section. Once you have filled in your county, Vote.org will send you an email with the next steps to requesting your absentee ballot. First, you will need to download and print out the ballot request form. To fill out this form, you will need to know the date of the election, the last 4 digits of your Social Security number, the address where you are registered, and the address you plan to vote from. This address is wherever you will be on Election Day, likely your campus address. Mail in your request form to your local county board of elections. This address will be provided on page 1 of the PDF. Voters requesting an absentee ballot by mail in Missouri who have never voted in person are required to submit a copy of their personal identification, unless they provided a copy with their registration application. Examples of acceptable ID in Missouri can be found at tinyurl.com/mo-acceptable-ID. If you have trouble mailing in your ballot, you can bring your absentee ballot in by hand to the Office of Local Election Authority until 5 p.m. the night before the election. Note that this is only eligible for absentee ballots. Mail-in ballots can only be submitted by mail. If you have trouble mailing in your mail-in ballot, you can vote in person at the polls on Election Day to ensure your vote will be counted. Once you receive your ballot in the mail, you may have to have it notarized before being able to vote. Some states, including Missouri, require a notary to sign your absentee ballot. It is important that you do not sign your ballot in advance of getting it notarized. You should sign your ballot in the presence of a notary. To find the nearest notary, you can check local banks, libraries, post offices, or email washuvotes.wustl.edu for information about when and where notaries will be on campus. Please be sure to bring a government-issued ID when you go to get your absentee ballot notarized. If you have any questions on requesting or casting your absentee ballot, feel free to email washuvotes@wustl.edu or the vote.org help desk at info@vote.org.